Welcome in to Palmetto Sports Daily, and we have a trifecta of sports stars here on the panel today. Starting off with Jill in the Conway, Myrtle Beach area, Kevin in Charleston, and myself here in Greenville. Rick Henry absent today, but he did provide a note that said that Shane Beamer, the head coach of the Gamecocks, was speaking. So a one-on-one interview took a little precedent. I think we can all agree Rick made the right decision because there's not many opportunities you get to talk with the head ball coach. But we did hear from the head ball coach over at the Carolina Panthers, Kevin, who told us for tonight's Hall of Fame game, no starters are going to play in the first preseason game on the NFL schedule. The Panthers will have 4 preseason games this year because they'll have the Hall of Fame preseason game against the Arizona Cardinals, and then they'll have the 3 regularly scheduled preseason games as every other NFL team will have. So no Bryce Young tonight in the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. Instead, the young man you see right there, Kenny Pickett, will start at quarterback for the Panthers, making his Panthers debut on his 4th different team in the last 4 seasons. You might remember he started his career as a first-round pick from Pitt, and then he led Pittsburgh right there in the same city, obviously, to a winning record in his 2 seasons as their starter, going 14-10, leading the Pittsburgh Steelers. But then he's bounced around to a bunch of different teams. Like I mentioned, 4 teams in 4 years, and he's leaning on that experience for his first season and first start for Carolina.
I think it's just the different experiences. Like, a lot of people do run the same concepts, but people read it differently or they start somewhere differently. So it's just kind of having that background knowledge, bouncing ideas off each other in the quarterback room, and figuring out what works best for us.
Just really efficient, and again, a veteran player. So he knows how to work, he knows how to study and prepare for a day. Every day, there seems to be some special throw down the field. He's got that in his bag. And then for us, now it's just about catching him up with all the concepts so he feels really comfortable and rhythmic, and that's where we're still in the middle of working.
All right, so we talked about this, guys, leading into last season when the Panthers were not playing their starters very much in the regular preseason. There's Luke Kuechly, who will be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame on Saturday in conjunction with the Hall of Fame game, so that's pretty cool for the Panthers to play in the Hall of Fame game. Great exposure for them, and then to see one of their own go down in immortal history in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But Kevin, the Hall of Fame games basically like the preseason to the preseason, so even fewer players are playing. Like I said, Canales saying no starters will play. Now, players competing for a starting job, he said, will play in this game, trying to fight it out to see who's the better man in that matchup. But what are your thoughts about not starting any starters in the Hall of Fame game?
Yeah, you mentioned this is something we talked about last year going into their first preseason game, and I think we touched on it this week a little bit as well. I understand not playing Bryce Young, maybe Ted McMillan, a couple of the big name players that Carolina has. I wouldn't mind seeing Monroe Freeling in this game a little bit, especially considering he is switching positions from left tackle to right tackle, at least early on this season for Carolina. So, I'd love to see him get some reps, even if he's going up against the Cardinals backups. It'd be great to see him just get some playing time and get some reps out there against a different team. But it's an understandable decision. You've got a longer preseason now than most other teams because you're playing 4 preseason games this year as opposed to the normal 3. But you would still like to see some guys get in there, but again, understand the decision. But Jill, the other thing is the line on this game is set at Carolina -1.5. How big of a degenerate gambler are you if you're putting money on the Hall of Fame game?
I feel like people are probably just scratching an itch that they're actively waiting for before, I guess you can say, their fantasy teams kick off. I'm not too much of a sports bettor, surprisingly. Never really got into it. But I'm sure that there are a lot of people who will be betting on this game. But my question might be why, because how well do you really know these second and third string players? That might be my main question. But you know what? If you want to throw 10, 20s on there, sure, there's people out there throwing on a lot more. But Kevin, are you throwing any on this game, or are you kind of just sitting back and waiting?
10 or 20s. I mean, what would we chump change here? I'm talking about if I lose this game tonight and the Cardinals cover the spread, then Carmine's going to have to help me pay my electric bill this month because he's got that sweet sports card money coming in on the side. So, Carmine, you better be rooting for Carolina big time tonight.
Yeah. Now, the only answer to your question, Jill, why are you betting on this game, is what Kevin said at the beginning. You're a degenerate gambler if you're going after the action in the Hall of Fame game, which is much less predictable than the regular preseason. But I think, like you said, if you need to scratch that itch. But I do want to see, Jill, Kenny Pickett, because, first year with the Panthers, and these NFL backup quarterbacks don't get enough credit. I know usually they have a great job, sitting behind the star. They get paid pretty well, don't have to do a lot of work. But when they are needed, they have to perform. And we've seen that last season with Andy Dalton, who did not play well. And you see what happened to him when he needed to fill in for Bryce Young. A lot of these starting quarterbacks, even if they're not injured for a long period of time, they might go down for between 2 and 5 games. And you need your backup to be a guy who can win you the game or at least keep you in the game. So I'm interested to see if that can be Kenny Pickett this year, Jill, and maybe be an upgrade over Andy Dalton last year.
I agree. I also think it's just great for him to kind of see how he works within this offense in an actual game-like setting. I say quotes, obviously, because it's not starters, but it's still, the game still matters. And him being with the 4 other teams, it's good that he can bring that knowledge in. But we're going to hit a quick break here for Palmetto Sports Daily.
Welcome back into Palmetto Sports Daily. We talked about the NFL preseason kicking off tonight, and also today, the college preseason kicking off for the big teams in South Carolina as the Gamecocks and Tigers both ready to get going. South Carolina going to hit the practice field for the first time tomorrow, but they're having their own media day in Columbia today. As we said, that's where our Rick Henry is, talking one-on-one with Shane Beamer right now. Obviously, lots of questions for everyone going into the season. South Carolina got the 31st most votes in the preseason coaches poll, so still some expectations when you bring back a top quarterback like Lenore Sellers, like South Carolina is doing. There's going to be some expectations that this team is at least, around a 500 team. They should be ready to qualify for a bowl game. Carmine, Clemson ranked at 23 coming into the season as they start practice today. Pretty much in that same kind of boundary where they should be a decent team and hopefully, making a move toward a playoff.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. A lot of respect, though, for the Gamecocks. I mean, for the season they had last year, 1 conference win, and to be picked 31st, that's a lot of respect for, I think, mostly, like you said, Lenore Sellers, and a hope for this entirely new offensive coaching staff that's coming in to turn things around, especially on offense when they were bottom 3 in the SEC in rushing yards per game, total yards per game, and points per game last season. So good vote of confidence that, new offensive coordinator, new O-line coach, new running backs coach can maybe reinvigorate this team. And then for Clemson, you're replacing Cade Klubnik, the 3-year starter at quarterback, with his 2 conference championships. Christopher Vizina looks like he's the number 1 guy right now, but the true freshman Tate Reynolds pushing him. So I'm interested to see what we hear from Dabo, because you never know what you're going to hear from one of the most verbose and loquacious college football coaches maybe of all time. Very interesting guy, of course, in all different realms. So we'll see what we hear from him. He's going to be juiced, though, Jill, to start fall camp. A lot of these college football coaches, this is what they're ready for. The preseason is upon us. And I have a question for you, though, Jill. Who would you put your money on, since we mentioned betting, not on the Hall of Fame game, but to finish with a better record this season between Clemson and the Gamecocks?
I'm stuck on the verbose and loquacious. Was it loquacious that you said? Verbose and loquacious. I need a dictionary. But
Hold on, Carmine, spell loquacious.
I don't know.
Loquacious. Loquacious.
No, I don't think that's right.
Okay. So
No, actually, he's right.
Actually, this might.
Thank you.
Oh wow, I can't spell. Not a good speller.
National Spelling Bee.
Thought there was
Sign
a
me
T in
up.
there
Sign me
somewhere.
up. Language of origin. Thank you.
But to answer your question, I'm going based on my gut. There is no technical or any backing to this whatsoever. My gut is telling me South Carolina. I don't have any rhyme or reason for that. I do like how Shane Beamer is going at it right now, and I think when you have that underdog mentality, that you feel like there's a little bit less pressure and you got something to prove. And I also like the fact that Lenore Sellers is back. Not a lot of college football quarterbacks are staying in the same place anymore. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from South Carolina. I'm curious, Carmine. I feel like you don't agree with me, but that's okay.
Wow. I think that's a great vote of confidence for South Carolina, and a little bit of a hot take because Clemson's schedule is going to be much easier in the ACC versus the SEC, that gauntlet that you have to go through. So just based on that alone, even if the two teams were equal, which I think Clemson will be better this year, I think just based on the conference schedule, Kevin, I would have to go Clemson finishing with a better record.
Yeah, if we're going just for better record, then I would say Clemson definitely has the odds to get more wins. Better team, I think that's up in the air. And honestly, I don't even know what leads you, Carmine, to say that Clemson looks like they're going to improve. Having a quarterback who doesn't have much, experience back there, it's a coin flip for either team.
Yeah, it could be, because they shouldn't improve team-wise when they had 9 draft picks last year. In the NFL draft, they should have been much better. But I think this year, with the lower expectations, they'll overperform compared to last year underperforming. But like you said, it's up for debate until they actually hit the field.
Carmine, give me the definition of loquacious.
Loquacious is someone who speaks very well, uses elegant words, a great speaker. They're loquacious.
Tending to talk a great deal, speak freely, or chat continuously. Carmine is the loquacious one on Palmetto Sports Daily.
Thank you. Hey, anytime you can be grouped with Dabo, I'll take it.
All right, we've got more to come here on Palmetto Sports Daily coming up right after this.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We're sticking with football, but we're headed to Conway, where Coastal Carolina kicked off their fall camp yesterday under new head coach Ryan Beard. A lot of new faces and new places with over 50 new players on this roster, so it took a lot of time to mesh. That's something we were talking about a lot on yesterday's episode, but a point of emphasis from head coach Ryan Beard was special teams, and that's not inherently surprising considering he has a special teams background as a coach and then a large defensive background, which were two large points of emphasis in the media availability after this first day of fall camp. Obviously, no pads, just helmets and shorts, so it's hard to get a little bit of a gauge, but it's something that he really, really did harp on. I mean, being the special teams coordinator at Central Michigan before he headed over to Missouri State. So saying that special teams is super important, and we're going to hear from the loquacious Ryan Beard on why he feels special teams is extremely important and will help them in the long run.
And the one thing you're also going to see on Saturday is our best players play special teams. One of my jobs as the head coach is to help them get on a roster in the NFL. And the best way to make a roster spot is to be an asset on special teams. You can't just be a one-position guy. That's too challenging when it gets down to the roster cuts at the end of your preseason. So we harp on that and continue to grow our special teams units. Coach Fishback does a really nice job, and we want them to feel the urgency of special teams as well. Sometimes during special teams, you've been around programs that it's a little bit of a lull in practice. Everybody else goes and stands around and just hangs out. Every single thing that we do is intentional, with focus and attention to detail, and I think you'll see that show up on Saturdays.
I love hearing that from Ryan Beard just because it's kind of making these players be multifaceted, not just sticking to one position, making sure that they can fill in when needed. And he also spoke about that these players are really on a 12-month contract. You never know what can happen, and it just seems like he wants to instill whatever he can in them for their life after college football, and if that is the NFL for some players, and hopefully that's their goal to get there. But another large point of emphasis was the defense. Coach Beard bringing over the defensive coordinator from Missouri State, and we heard from Ibrahim Dawaria talking about how this defense is really coming together. Coach Beard also talked about how the defense will only go as far as the D-line will bring them. And when Ibrahim Dawaria was asked about that pressure and what that means for him, hearing that from his head coach, it didn't seem to bother him, but he's ready to prove that they can really bring it this season?
Oh, we love the pressure on our backs. We think we're the best thing since sliced bread. So we got to be able to show that every single day. Like we have a lot of great, talented guys in that room. Like from the young guys to the older guys. Like we have some insane athletes that we're gonna put in like some great positions to be able to be really successful in this defense.
Hearing that from Dwaria means a lot, especially because he is one of the returners and was a solid point of emphasis in this Coastal Carolina defense last season, and we're going to expect him to do the same this year. But what are your guys' thoughts on hearing that he believes that this D-line, this defense is the best thing since sliced bread? I mean, I love it. You got to have confidence to believe in yourself to do well. So, Carmine, what do you think?
Yeah, that was great. I also loved your drop of loquacious for Ryan Beard, which I agree with. He's a great speaker, and seems like he doesn't have any problem holding his speaking and extending some points for a long time. And I would say about your defensive end there, eloquent, because he didn't go on for too long, but he got to the point, very entertaining, and the best thing since sliced bread. That's a big claim, but of course it's like a hyperbole, right? He's not actually, there's a lot of great things out there. The best thing since sliced bread, big thing that probably changed American food forever. So I don't think he was meaning it literally, but great to see that confidence. And if you can make special teams your specialty, you can flip the field and have just a little edge in those games for Coastal Carolina. So I think that's cool that he's emphasizing special teams and guys being multifaceted. Just like us on this show, Kevin, we have to be able to talk about a bunch of different topics, whether it's sports or sometimes even spelling as well.
But what if he did mean it literally, Carmine? What if he thinks this is the greatest thing since the first bread slicer in 1928? I mean, we're going 100 years and this Coastal defensive line is the best thing we've seen since that?
If he was saying it literally, then I'd have to say just he's got to be incorrect, because that's kind of an impossible standard to live up to. But, hyperbole and pumping up the guys, I would say A+. I enjoyed him saying that.
I have a question. Did you look up the year that the sliced bread was made? Is that the actual correct year, or are we just ballparking here? Because I feel like it would have been way earlier.
You guys don't know about this as like just general knowledge that the first real bread slicer came in 1928?
No, but I guess
surprisingly no.
What do they teach you guys in school?
I didn't know.
Jeez.
No, I was eating the bread in school. I wasn't researching it. I was just lunchtime.
Speaking of the best thing since sliced bread, the new defensive coordinator for Coastal Carolina is LD Scott from Missouri State, coming over with Ryan Beard. And that is something that Dwaria was talking about, saying that working with him, he's such a good defensive line and just defensive coordinator coach, saying some of the stuff he comes up with makes him question if he even knows football, because he's like, how did you even think of that? Like, I wouldn't even thought of that in a million years. So it's going to be really exciting to see what this Coastal Carolina team is going to put out on the field come September 5th. So on the both offensive and defensive side, So we'll see what the Chants can bring come September. We're going to hit a quick break here for Palmetto Sports Daily.
Welcome back into Palmetto Sports Daily as college football starts ramping up. College basketball kind of in their off season, but still kind of slowly moving towards the start of that as well. South Carolina holding an open practice on Wednesday as Lamont Paris gets ready to bring his team down to Nassau, the Bahamas, where they're going to play a couple of exhibition games over the course of the next coming weeks. Paris saying these trips are really good, especially for a team like his, where 12 of the 15 players are either transfers or freshmen coming in. So he knows a trip like this, getting them away and getting them to spend just time with each other, could be a huge thing once they get into that regular season.
I'm still just learning. I'm taking it all in and just trying to put guys in positions to challenge themselves and to learn from one another. So, we're still just taking it all in ourselves. But a lot of it was just we did a lot of playing. We did a lot of 5-on-5 stuff. A couple basic principles that we got in terms of how we want to play offensively and defensively.
feel like you have a lot of guys who are hungry. You know, a lot of guys on this team feel like they have to prove themselves. No matter if they were somewhere didn't get a lot of minutes, if they were somewhere that they played good and just moved up, or they were somewhere and just didn't play good at all and looking for a second chance, I feel like you have a group of guys that's hungry. You know, all of us are kind of new to the SEC besides a couple guys, so we're coming in here with a chip on our shoulder.
And Carmine, for Carolina, this is their first foreign trip in the preseason since before the 23-24 season. And, of course, that year they made it back to the NCAA tournament. Clemson also having their own foreign adventures this week as well.
Yes, that's exactly right, Kevin. And hopefully that team bonding carries over into the regular season and the hunger, which I think the Tigers had a lot of too because they went to Italy. But the surplus of spaghetti did not slow down their performance. Let's take a look at this video here from their last game. They capped off the Italy trip with a perfect 3-0 record. And most recently, the Tigers defended their orange honor by blowing out Orange Bassano 99-54 near Milan, Italy, dominating with the dunks you see right there. 5 players scoring in double figures. And every Tiger who played in this game scored in their Italian finale, following other wins in Rome and Florence, showing off that Clemson grit on the trip they called a trip to Gridley for themselves. And that team bonding, Jill, so important. 7 returners, 7 new Tigers, 4 of them transfers. And one of the biggest deals for this Tigers team is Cole Serta. He scored in double figures in all 3 of these Italy games. He's coming from Notre Dame, so a transfer inside the ACC. Should be a sharpshooter, and I just love the team bonding, Jill, of these international trips.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what these trips are meant to do. Yeah, it's important to have those scrimmages and be playing, but I think the main factor and main thing to get out of it is to make sure that you build and cultivate those relationships. But also, Coastal Carolina's schedule just dropped 30 minutes ago, so just go take a look at that. That's all we have for today on Palmetto Sports Daily. Thank you guys for listening to us.